What does a roll of toilet paper, some seeds, a bag of flour, and some water have in common? Those are items you're going to need to make your own seed tape. That and a whole lot more coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
This program was funded by the following.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
Willow Springs Soap Company is a locally owned Colorado business just a stone's throw away from the Rocky Mountains. Their handmade soap is made from simple, recognizable ingredients, which lead to a more natural, earth-friendly, long-lasting, and hard bar with a wonderful creamy lather. They make soap using the cold kettle process with a specially formulated recipe of 100% vegetable oils. They use traditional methods that produce a true soap instead of the commercial synthetic alternatives that can dry out skin. Go to www.willowspringssoap.com to get a fresh and natural clean, handmade in the Rockies.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener supports the following. Hunger Task Force believes that every person has the right to adequate food obtained with dignity. They're providing food for people in need. With their 151-acre working farm and fish hatchery in Franklin, Wisconsin, volunteers are needed daily. You could plant seeds in the greenhouse, ride the transplanter, or you can make an instant $10 donation from your mobile device by texting food to 52,000. For more information on how you can help end hunger, visit hungertaskforce.org.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. This show is dedicated to the average gardener, simple home living, and using what you already have. Well, we're going to make some seed tape today. It's a quick, easy way to get the seeds in the garden quicker. Now, you can go to your local home and garden center and buy seed tape, but the varieties are limited on which type of seed you can purchase. So what you need is basic items you already have in the house. Well, we'll need some tissue paper. You can use tissue paper, bags, or we're going to use toilet paper, which is what I like best. Some flour and water as our paste, and a tape measure and some scissors. So what basically we're going to do is we're going to roll out the toilet paper to whatever desired length you want, cut it, and then we're going to split it in half to make the seed tape the proper width. So all you want to do is just split this down here. Now this works best for small seeds. We're going to do some French breakfast radishes and some oregano. Worked well for carrots. Beets will also work well. The larger seeds like beans and corn I'll plant by hand because it's very easy to see and control the planting with. So now I've got it cut in half. So what we want to do is we want to plant some of our radish seeds that we got from dollarseed.com. We know that radish seeds get planted a ½ inch to an inch apart. So we'll take on the tape measure, and I'll take a marker, and I'll just mark approximately inch every inch here. And you can guess at this. It really doesn't have to be precise. The purpose of a seed tape is so that you're not planting radishes like we all have, grab a handful and just trickle it down the row, and then you have to come back and weed them out and you waste seeds and time. So with the paste here, it's a flour paste. Whatever quantity of flour you add that same amount of water. I used 1 teaspoon of flour to 1 teaspoon of water. So you just take paintbrush, and you just want to dab it where you're going to put your seed at. It doesn't take a whole lot. You want to just get enough to where that seed will nestle in. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, if we put these seeds in the flour and we cover them up with the others, when we fold the tissue paper up, won't the seeds germinate? Well, that's the purpose of this flour here. You want it to be as dry as possible, but still have some wetness to it to adhere the seed as a glue, and it won't germinate. And another way of preventing it, if you're going to do a lot of these in advance, you can roll them up and put them in the fridge, and that will prevent them from germinating as well. Okay, now that we've got all the paste in, we want to take our radish seeds here. Now, if they're really small seeds, you can take tweezers and place them in where you've put your glue at, and just drop them in. Alright, got 2 more here. Okay, now that we've got our seeds all placed in the paste, we want to fold this over to seal it up like you would tape. So you just want to very gently take and fold it over. Okay, now that you folded it over, you want to label it so you know what you got, whether you're going to plant them tomorrow or in a week. You want to label them so you are aware when you do a bunch of these together, they're all going to look the same. So you just want to take a label, and I'll just label the end here like that so I know what I've got. Now what you want to do is you want to leave this dry for a couple of hours so that the flour will dry into the seed, and then you can roll it up and put it in the fridge or take it to the garden and plant it. When you plant it, you'll just plant it just like you would radish seeds. Create the row, nestle this in the row, cover it up to where you can't see any toilet paper, and then water it in, and it's good to go. And you can plant your row a whole lot faster. Another great benefit to making seed tape, if you have a bad back or can't kneel for long periods of time, you can make your row, roll this out, cover it up, water it, and you're done. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time planting with little seeds. Now if you do a lot of containers, we'll set this aside, if you do a lot of containers, one way you can do that is take a paper towel, cut it to the diameter shape of your pot there, 2 layers, and you can do the same thing. We're going to plant some oregano seeds again that we got from dollarseed.com. Now, as you can see, these are extremely small oregano seeds. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the paste, and I'm just going to randomly kind of dab it since it's in a container. Just going to place it here, there. There's no real right or wrong answer to this. Now, this is also if you have friends, family, elderly, ones that like to garden but have difficulty with arthritis or gripping seeds. This is a project that you can do and give it to them as a gift, that they can plant this very easily in their container and they don't lose seeds or have to fight with the pain of trying to grasp the seed as they plant it. So I'm just doing a random pattern here. Now, with it being so small, I'm going to take my tweezers, which you can use, and I'm just going to dab a few seeds there in each one of these piles. Alright, now that we've got them all done, let me get a few more here. You want to take in just the same procedure as we did with the toilet paper and just fold it over. Make sure the top and the bottom are stuck together, and then there you go. You can label this as well, so whether you're doing it or giving it as a gift, they know what it is. So you want to, if you're going to plant in the container, you want to take and just lay it in the container, put a thin layer of soil on top of it so you can't see the paper towel, water in, and it's a very easy and a quick way of planting small seeds in containers. As the toilet paper works well, and you can do this in 2-foot sections, 10-foot sections, whatever you have room for, and you can plant rows with normally took a matter of minutes to a matter of seconds. So it's an easy way of saving seeds as well as being very efficient in the garden. When it comes to the end of fall time, there's pumpkins everywhere. There are a dime a dozen. One of the things you can do with your pumpkin is make pumpkin flour. Now obviously not many of you will probably have pumpkins in your basement at this time of the year, but there's probably one or two of you. And if you store it properly, you can get 3 or 4 months out of them. Here's some that we've had in our basement. We're going to make some pumpkin flour. We'll show you how to do it. It's very easily done. So all you want to do is you want to just basically, you want to take your pumpkin apart. Now if it's been sitting in the basement for quite some time, since Halloween, and it's a little dry, that's fine. You've already started dehydrating in the basement. And that's what we want. We want it to be dry. So we'll just split it open. And as you can see, some part of this pumpkin is going bad, so we'll cut those bad parts out, and it's still perfectly good. Just the rotten spots we want to get out of it. Get rid of that. Over here is a bad spot. Now when you make pumpkin flour, you want to peel the pumpkin as well. And we've got a technique that we'll show you on that. First you want to remove the seeds. Now you can either roast the seeds in the oven and eat them as a treat, or you can actually make pumpkin seed flour out of them. It's the same procedure as the pumpkin flour. Now you see the stringy stuff, this doesn't bother me to use that as part of the flour base if there's anything left whenever we get the seeds out. Okay, get the other one cleaned out here. Got a bad spot in that one there, we'll cut loose. Okay, now that we've got the pumpkins cleaned out, we want to peel them, and if you have a peeler like this, it works best to peel around the shape of the pumpkin, or you can cut around it with your knife. Or the best way we found is to cut it in little strips like you would a watermelon or cantaloupe. Flip it over, and then you take your peeler and peel the skin off of it. If you don't get it all off, it's not as big a deal, but you want to get as much off as possible. And that one's done. Same thing, as the smaller you make your slices, the easier it is to peel your pumpkin. And you'll just do that around the whole pumpkin. Now at the top and the bottom, it's very hard where the stem's at. I'll just take and cut a portion of that and then throw the rest in the compost bin, because that's very tough where that stem was, and along with the other parts that we're discarding. Pumpkins also contain one of the highest level of vitamin A in your garden. It also contains vitamin C and vitamin E. It also is an antioxidant as well. So we'll get this final slice here peeled. And it works well with the small pieces like that. So now that we got them all peeled, we're going to take and put them in the food processor. Look at the food processor. Now with the food processor, you want to put in your shredder blade on top of there. And you want the pieces, with the purpose of that, you're going to put your pieces in there, and you want them to be as small as possible so they dehydrate quicker. So we'll just go ahead and process these here. Now as you can see, we've got small chunks there, and that's what we want. So I'm going to take and put them over in this bowl here so they don't get chopped to a pulp, because you don't want a pulp in them. You don't want them watery and runny, you just want small chunks so they dehydrate better. So let me finish the rest of this pumpkin here, and we'll get the dehydrator set up and go on that. Alright, now that we've got our pumpkin processed here, got it all in a nice bowl, we're going to get our dehydrator hooked up and get this stuff dehydrating so we can make some pumpkin flour. Now we got our dehydrator set up here. We're going to put the pumpkin in the dehydrator. Now there's a couple of tricks to this. We have here an herb drying rack in it, which is just this plastic mesh circle here. That's going to go at the bottom, and the reason that's going to go at the bottom is because as these particles dry, they're going to lose moisture and they're going to get smaller, and some of them will fall through this racking. Well, I don't want them to fall through the bottom and then we have to clean it up later, so we're just going to put that at the bottom to catch any small particles that may fall through. Now with this being 8 racks, we should have more than enough space for this one pumpkin. So what we'll do is we're going to start loading the tray, and all it really consists of is just a layer of the pumpkin. And as you check on this, you'll notice it will get smaller in size. And this will take about 24 hours depending on how much pumpkin you have to dry and how big your chunks are. And that's why we put it through the food processor, to get it as small as possible so it would dry as quick as possible, so we use less energy, it's more efficient, and it's easier to handle. So let's get this packed all the way to the edge so we maximize our space. And this dehydrator, the air comes, sucks down through the center and blows up through the sides. So it'll circulate the air through the whole racking quite nice. So we got that one full. Put another one on. So we're finishing up our last tray here. And like big pieces like this, if you see them stuck together, you want to pull them apart so they dry properly. Now I said we had the seeds that came out of here. We don't waste anything here at the garden. So what we're going to do with the seeds is we're going to make another shelf on top of this one. We have plenty left over. And we're going to dry the seeds and make pumpkin seed flour out of them. And all you want to do is the same procedure. Just want to spread them apart. Now some of them are going to fall through, and that's not a big deal. Just the slime and everything, it's not going to hurt because it's all going to dry together. Once you've got all your trays filled with your pumpkin seed, you want to put it on your highest setting, turn it on, and it'll take about 24 hours for your pumpkin to dry. You want to check on it periodically. Now this only took about 12 hours to dry, which was a surprise to me, but the benefit is that we cut it in small pieces, and as you can see, it's really shriveled up. Now with the seeds being on top, I'm not that concerned with. We can process those as well. But as you can see, we packed it real tight and full earlier, and it's all dried up. Now, this takes a lot of pumpkin to get a lot of pumpkin flour. Typically, it'll take about 1.7 pounds of pumpkin to get 1/8 of a cup of pumpkin flour. So it does take quite a bit, but it's very rewarding. Now the best way I've found to make pumpkin flour is you want to get your coffee grinder. If you don't have a coffee grinder, your trusty old food processor will work also. So we just take and basically just scrape the little particles of pumpkin and fill the coffee grinder up, and as you can see, it keeps falling through the grate, which is fine because we'll pick it up at least on the next one or at the very bottom where we have that mesh screen at. So we'll put the seeds there, set that aside. Now you don't want to overfill your coffee grinder. That's the only disadvantage to this, but with a funnel it helps pack everything in better. So we'll just grind that up. As you can see, some of it has ground up, others hasn't. And it really depends on how fine of a powder you want. And it's going to take quite a bit of work to get it like the all-purpose flour that you would buy in the store. So I'm going to grind up just a little bit more and see if I can break down any more of those chunks. Okay. jar here. And the pumpkin flour is going to be a little more on the chunky side unless you really have a powerful machine that can break down those hard particles. So let's finish doing the rest of these trays. Now as you can see at the bottom here, that mesh screen really helped keep everything from falling. You got little particles there, but the large pieces stayed put. So let me do the rest of this and we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the seeds as well. Now out of that big pumpkin, we've got this much pumpkin flour. Now the way you cook with this pumpkin flour, it's a 1-to-4 ratio. For example, if the recipe calls for 1 cup of all-purpose flour, you can use a 1/4 cup of the pumpkin flour and 3/4 cups of the all-purpose flour. Now it's going to change your ingredients to an orange color, but that's okay, and it'll add a little pumpkin flavor as well. Now with the seeds here, it's a little different procedure when grinding the seeds into a pulp. The seeds naturally have oil in them, and you don't want to over grind them, otherwise the oils will release and it will make the seeds very sticky, which will speed up the time, it'll lessen the storage time on the seeds. And that's the pumpkin seed flour. Now you can do this with any type of squash, but recommended pumpkin is the best. Now the reason why we're putting in these canning jars and not putting them directly into our main canister is because when you grind it up it creates friction, and you want to cool the powder or the flour down to room temperature because the friction of the blade heats it up. And then after it's cooled for a little bit, you can go ahead and put it in your storage container. With the pumpkin seed flour, you want to just add a tablespoon to whatever you're cooking. It has a lot of fiber in it, it has iron in it. You can even sprinkle it on top of your salad to add a little more nutritional value to it. So that's as simple as it is to make pumpkin flour. Whether you grow plants in containers outside or inside, you're going to need something to put underneath your pots to keep the water from running all over the place. You can use the top of a coffee can, for example. Here's some that we have here. You can use the top, like I said, the top of the coffee can to contain the water underneath your little container. You can use an aluminum tray that we got from a restaurant. You can use a coffee container, whether it's clear or black, that works well. And over here we even got a styrofoam tray that we used off of some chicken nuggets that we bought at the local grocery store. So you guys can be creative without having to purchase an expensive tray that goes underneath your containers. The internet is filled with many wonderful sites that contain a lot of information for us gardeners. But sometimes the best information comes from a book, from an author who spent many years in the garden figuring out what's wrong and what's right about the plants he or she is growing. And it's documented in paperback form so we can take to the garden. You may not always want to or able to take your laptop outside, but a book you can take anywhere you want. Now you can get these books from discounted secondhand stores, from discounted websites. You can borrow them from your local library. You can even request your friends and family to purchase them for you for a holiday or birthday. Just because it's old information doesn't mean it's bad information.
There's many different options for starting potatoes in your garden. You can buy seed potatoes through online, through a seed catalog, and preferably through your home and garden center. But you don't have to look that far. You can look just inside your pantry. These are 3 different varieties of potatoes we've been growing in our garden. These 2 we started last year from seed potatoes, and as you can see, some of them didn't do too well, but since we saved them, now they've grown eyes. And as you can see, we're going to go ahead and plant those in our garden again this year. And with the right soil conditions, they're going to grow larger and become more hardy. These right here, these red potatoes, are what we did is we bought these from a local grocery store a couple seasons ago. Now this will be our 3rd generation planting them. And they do grow to a nice good size. And they're, you know, quite delicious when they are fresh. Those are the red potatoes. These are some purple potatoes, in case you're kind of wondering what they look like, and then these are Yukon potatoes. Three of the main potatoes out there. One other thing you can do with them, if you have an overabundance of potatoes, is you can actually can them. Now you want to pressure can them. You want to make sure you're using a pressure canner if you are going to can them. And they're kind of nice because they end up kind of mushy, so you can mush them up into like mashed potatoes real easily, use them in different recipes, or you can just go ahead and heat them up and eat them as they are. So there's a few different options for storing potatoes instead of just having extras on hand. But I would recommend maybe trying to see if you can, grow potatoes, keep extra aside, and let them grow eyes and plant them in your garden. You can plant them in the ground, you can plant them in a bucket, just any container is perfectly fine. Some people, once they toss their potatoes in the compost bin, they'll see that some are starting to grow in that compost, and that's okay too. So there's a few different options for starting your potatoes, and like I said, something that's good to grow in the garden because there's many different uses for them. I was just paging through some books that I borrowed from my local library on canning. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for watching the show. I really hope you enjoyed watching it just as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. And that seed tape, that's something that you can definitely use in your garden. It's going to save you some time, maybe save you a backache down the road, and something that you can maybe give on to a friend or a family member to help assist them in starting their own garden as well. And the pumpkin flour is something delicious and that you can put in your recipes, your baking, and it's also obviously good for you. And let's face it, those pumpkins at the end of October, they're a dime a dozen, so you got to do something with them, right? From all of us at the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, I'm Holly Baird, encouraging you to take a child gardening with you and help start growing some memories.
This program was funded by the following.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
Willow Spring Soap Company is a locally owned Colorado business just a stone's throw away from the Rocky Mountains. Their handmade soap is made from simple, recognizable ingredients, which lead to a more natural, earth-friendly, long-lasting, and hard bar with a wonderful creamy lather. They make soap using the cold kettle process with a specially formulated recipe of 100% vegetable oils. They use traditional methods that produce a true soap instead of the commercial synthetic alternatives that can dry out skin. Go to www.willowspringsoap.com to get a fresh and natural clean, handmade in the Rockies.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener supports the following. Hunger Task Force believes that every person has the right to adequate food obtained with dignity. They're providing food for people in need. With their 151-acre working farm and fish hatchery in Franklin, Wisconsin, volunteers are needed daily. You could plant seeds in the greenhouse, ride the transplanter, or you can make an instant $10 donation from your mobile device by texting food to 52,000. For more information on how you can help end hunger, visit hungertaskforce.org. The show never ends on our Facebook page. Keyword Wisconsin Vegetable Gardeners. Like the page and continue the discussion there. You can now follow us on Twitter, see what we're up to and what we're doing at the garden. The address, the W-I Veg Gardener, G-A-R-D-E-N-R. You can email us at the WIVeggardener@gmail.com with your questions, comments, or suggestions about the show.